Good morning, everybody. So my name's Javeria. Everybody calls me Jav in Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service, and I'm the safeguarding officer for the fire service. So I do a variety of things in the service. I manage cases when firefighters go to an incident and they've been made aware of an issue from, let's say, a property fire or somebody that's had a fall. They will make the relevant referrals, and then it's my duty to make sure that I'm following up on those cases with our multi-agencies. So what I want to do is just give you a brief, just a brief introduction really on what the fire service do and how you as multi-agency professionals can possibly help us to enable the service user to get the best service, and just tell you about our services that we offer and what to look out for when you go into people's properties. So the minimum criteria is what we ask for smoke alarms is to have one per floor. So if you've got 3 floors, ground floor, first floor, second floor, you should have a smoke alarm on each floor. And ideally, they should be placed where your exit routes are. They should be on the ceiling, covering each exit route per floor. So hallways and landings are the ideal places where we should really see smoke alarms. And another thing that we always advise, and this is from all emergency services, is to try to encourage service users to have a phone in their bedroom. That's one thing that we're not seeing. And that's because if there's an emergency at night time, they need to make sure that they have contact with the outside world effectively to get some help. In addition to that, what we also ask is if you do go into property and you've realised that exit routes are not clear, just look out for which exit routes are not clear. Is there only one exit route that's clear? And try to encourage the services to make sure that they've got exit routes in various ways. Keys accessible at all times to front door, back door, window keys in every room as well, so that, you know, if they were ever trapped in their own home, there is a way for them to get out. Now, having a fire plan as well. So I am rushing through this, and if I am going quickly, I'm ever so sorry. I've just got a lot to get through and I'm conscious of the time. We also encourage people to have a fire plan in their homes as well. So children at schools, they're very good. Everybody knows what to do if there was a fire at school, what the fire drill is. And it's equally important that at home, everybody knows what to do. And that's for people from all walks of life. So, if their mobility is restricted, what they may have to consider is having a stay put policy in their home in a particular room with having the door closed. And one of the best advice that I've ever, in the fire service I've heard, and it's been consistent ever since I've been in the service, is to ensure that all your doors are closed when you go to bed at night. And if there's one door that we ask for you to close, that's your kitchen door, because most accidental fires start in your kitchen. Now, this is the basic advice that we offer to people, and we are conscious that everybody's lifestyles are different, but these are just certain things that we're asking you as professionals to look out for. And equally, it's for your loved ones as well that may be vulnerable, that you could hopefully embed into their daily routine. Thanks, Helen. If we could move on to the next slide. So I will talk to you about how you can make referrals at the end of the presentation, but that's just to give you an idea of just generic fire safety. So if we increase the risk now, and let's say that as a professional you've been told that there's an arson threat, so let's say the common denominators are unfortunately ex-partners or an immediate family member, and a threat has been made to say that they're going to burn down the house, fire-related threats, it's really, really important that you let the fire service know. And that's and the way you make that referral is through our normal fire service pathway referral that we have online. And we would ask that you do try to follow that up with a phone call, because the office hours are 9 to 5 and sometimes referrals are not looked at, let's say, straight away. So we just want to make sure that we are picking up those high risk referrals straight away. And the number to call would be the number that's on the screen here. Now, if it was out of hours, please also make sure that you do still call this number. And the reason that we ask is because we do have out of hours. And what we do is when we receive a referral, we've got 24 hours as a service to make sure that contact is made with that vulnerable person where that threat has been made. We will go and do a home safety check. and we will fit smoke alarms, additional smoke alarms if need be, depending on the home and the way that the house is set. If there's other exit routes, we will give advice as well, because normally our advice would be to leave the property if ever there was a fire. However, we're aware that the perpetrator may be outside, so it's about making sure that the individual is safe. The police would need to be reported as well, and the police are always very, very good at making sure that they alert us, and we do work very closely with them. But it's just, if ever you come, if you're made aware that there is an arson threat, please ensure that you do get in contact with the fire service. If you're unsure, ring up the number for further advice, and we can always, it may not be done within 24 hours, it may be done within the next 2 or 3 days, but I guess let us make that decision if we need to go out straight away. Thank you, Helen. So now I'm going to be talking about hoarding, and hoarding is a very, very big issue. I guess for all services. So only in 2013 was it declared that it's a mental health problem, and for the fire service, this is a very, very big problem. Now, this is a photo of a house that resulted in 2 deaths, and it resulted in 2 people dying over the age of 70, and they were hoarders. Multi-agencies were involved. Luckily, they were involved. So what happened is, as a fire service, this was in Liverpool, so not in Leicester. They were alerted via the environmental health, and that was due to neighbours just reporting infestation around this particular house. They reported it to the fire service, and multi-agency work was conducted at this property prior to this fire starting. 2 to 3 attempts were made, and unfortunately they were unsuccessful. It was all recorded and logged, and luckily for them, they did keep their records up to date, because this case ended up in the coroner's. So if you wouldn't mind moving over to the next slide, Helen. Helen?
Yes, I've moved it. Has it not come up on your screen?
Oh, it's not come up on mine. I don't know if it's come up on anybody else's.
It's a burning house.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
House. Yeah.
Oh, right. So this was really, I'm just trying to give you an insight really as to what the fire service had to go through. Now, we didn't know anything on this. Yes, we made attempts, but because no successful entry was made, we didn't have any information as to how significant the risk was. So with the window just above the door, you can see clutter actually coming out of this one particular house. And this incident went on for a very, very long time. So the fire, we tried to contain the fire. Well, Liverpool did. Merseyside Fire and Rescue tried to contain this fire, and it went on to the early hours of the night to try to put out this fire. Unfortunately, nobody survived in this fire, and it resulted, like I said, going to coroners. So I guess what I'm trying to reiterate is that as a fire service, we promote multi-agency working, and we do try to do every visit in relation to hoarders that are high risk with another worker, with another professional, only because learning outcomes from previous incidents have resulted that, we don't really work collaboratively together. And that's not just from the fire service, but that's collectively as an umbrella service that we do. And if you ever do, please get in contact with the fire service so that we can try to help the service user. So if we move on to the next slide then, Helen, if that's okay. Now, this is a clutter rating image, and this is used nationwide. It's used nationally, and we do try to ask all professionals to use this to help us and yourselves to identify the risk level. So if we look at the first 1, 2, 3 where the photos are, that's green, and that's just showing you basically that there's really very little risk there. And we don't really need to report anything as of yet. However, there may be other fire risks, like if you look at picture 3, for example, you may see burn marks in the property, or you may see excessive alcohol bottles in this one property. So a referral may need to be made to the fire service because we're worried about the burn marks and the alcohol drinking, and potentially there could be a fire. And the evidence there suggesting that the burn marks are a clue, an indicator for us to make a referral to the fire service. If we look at the middle section then of this, and we can see that now it turns into amber, so it's starting to become on borderline, and where we're starting to get a little bit concerned now about the way that this particular person may be living, and it's just trying to give you I guess an image of what you should be looking out for. And this is on the borderline, so if ever you do come across this, please once again put a referral through to the fire service, because it may potentially start to get worse, and we need to try to get in there as soon as possible, from stopping it to getting very, you know, to stop it from getting even worse. And then the bottom, as you can see, that's probably the worst that we have. And if it's floor to ceiling, that's, you know, it cannot get any worse than that. And that's when we need to start thinking, well, are exit routes blocked? Would they be able to get out if they had a fall? Are there potential for them to have a fall in this house? If emergency services went in, would they be able to extradite the patient out of this one property? So if you haven't got this, handouts will be going out. Please print this out and just keep it on you, so that when you are in a property, you can refer to this. And when you do refer into the fire service, just if you can typically give just, you know, identified hoarding, clutter rating image was 6 or 5 or 7, and that just helps us as a service to paint a picture for the particular case that you've identified. Now, when we looked at the bottom 3, automatically, if it's 7+, so the numbers are at the bottom of each picture, if it's 7 or above, it is a safeguarding issue and we need to report it straight away. Please try to report it as soon as you can, and a referral should generally be made to adult social care, the fire service, and if it's a housing property, then we need to alert housing as well. And that's where, as all services, we do try to encourage multi-agency work, because housing have a lot more enforcement, and adult social care, or, you know, there may be mental health issues involved in that they may need additional help. And from a fire service point of view, well, we can just advise and guide them on the reasons why we need to encourage them to have a safer way of living. If you wouldn't mind moving on to the next slide, Helen, if that's okay. Okay. So what we do as a fire service then, if we have a hoarding case, we review each case on a 3 to 6 months basis. And the reason why we do that is because the hoarding level may increase, it may decrease, there may be additional help that they require. And that just sometimes means that we liaise with our partner agency, or that we actually do a physical visit in that property, because the occupier may not be engaging with the services very well. And it may be that they may, you know, want additional help now, just because the circumstances may have changed. And also, as a fire service, it's really important. This just echoes the reasons why. So if ever there's an incident with a domestic fire, we normally just send out 2 fire engines. But if it's a hoarding case, 7 and above, we result in sending out 3 fire engines, because of the clutter being intense, and that meaning the fire loading is there and the risk being greater. And as a fire service, we have this written down on our turnout sheet. So when firefighters go to a property, the risk would come up, so they are aware of the property being fire loading high, and they would possibly have the clutter rating image, so that they would be aware of what they are going into. So if you do come across a hoarder that is 7+, please ensure that we are referring into the fire service. Now, my duty as a safeguarding officer is to ensure that I work alongside multi-agencies. So I also attend, and we're talking about acronyms now, but I will tell you what this VARMS is: Vulnerable Action Adult Risk Matrix. And they're meetings that we have as multi-agencies to find where there's a risk to their life potentially, and we work collectively, set ourselves objectives to hopefully enhance and improve the service user's life. And I'm sorry, Helen, if I'm giving away your clues, but the MDTs are what we also attend, and that's where there's no risk to life. So I won't give away what it stands for, but
you can say.
So it's multidisciplinary team, and that's where there's no risk to life, but we've got concerns for the family or the way that they're living. And as multi-agencies, we're all coming together to find ways that we can try to work with the family, work with each other to try to improve their quality of life once again. Thank you, Helen. Now, what we've recently started in the fire service is a hoarding peer group, because we identified that there wasn't really much support for people that hoard. Now, it's very, very new, and as a fire service we're learning, and as other professionals we're learning as well. And what we do is we meet on the last Wednesday of every month, and we meet at a station in the city. So currently we're meeting at the fire station on Lancaster Road. And what we have there is we have a social worker from the city who's a specialist hoarding social worker. And from the county, there's a team that are called Safer Spaces that specialise working with hoarders as well. So we have a member from their team attend as well. And we just have light refreshments, tea, coffee, biscuits. So we're going to be meeting next week, with an exception of not being the last month, just not being the last Wednesday because of Christmas, but we're just going to have mince pies, biscuits, and for people, I guess, that hoard, just to network with one another and just so that they can, I guess, meet other people that hoard. It's all well and good as a service, us meeting them, but they need to, I guess, be able to talk to people that live a similar lifestyle to them. So far it's going well, and if you do have anybody that you know that would love to come to this, please get in contact with them. Myself, and the email will be at the end to refer in, and we can hopefully communicate with yourselves as to best practice to get them in. Thank you, Helen. So very quickly, because I'm just conscious of the time. Now, as a fire service, we run a programme called Fire Care, and this is a programme for young fire setters up to the age of 18. So it's a free confidential service, and this is for young people that have been identified as fire setting. And it may be due to curiosity, it may be due to peer pressure, whatever may be the reason. But please, refer them into the fire service. We do need parental consent, as we can't do the service if we've not given consent. However, if we don't get parental consent, what we can do is we can come into schools with the permission from the schools, and we can educate the whole group just about the dangers of fire setting as well. Numerous sessions of this would be held, and it could be at the home or at school, and followed by that we also do a home safety check at their home, and it may result in additional smoke alarms being fit just because of the risk level being fairly high. If we could have the next slide, please, Helen. And this is I just wanted to give you what the service page looks like, so what our page looks like. And if you log on to Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service, if you go under safety, this is the referral pathways that you could use. So for a home safety check, it would go under at home. And if there's somebody that's fire setting, you would go under youth and kids. And at home is the referral that you would make for an arson threat being made as well. So that's just giving you an idea, but please, just to reiterate, if there was an arson threat, please try to make sure that we are making those referrals followed by a phone call as well. And then the final slide is my contact details. And this just gives you my name, my email address, and the safeguarding inbox. The fire service details, contact details are on our webpage should you need to gain further information. I hope that's helped.